Greetings everyone. So today we will be doing an Appgyver detailed review. So what's Appgyver? Appgyver is the world's first professional no-code platform which enables anyone to build apps from all forms including mobile, desktop, TV, and well, you get the point. Appgyver is free for life. So you aren't charged and you aren't charged a dime unless you earn like 10k or that's highly unlikely, but likely or highly. It provides drag and drop user interface. So if you want to add, let's say, a button, create slash delete an icon, you want to add a paragraph, you can create the checkbox or all the like, you can do that on Appgyver with a simple drag and drop functionality, which leads us to the component segment, which is this segment over here. So the component section is the segment which provides pretty much all the basic components which you can use in building your apps. We are talking about things like icons, text, title, form, layout, list, and private components. So next, the buy component. The component section is made up of three: the core, buy me, and installed. So pretty much the core component stores the basic components and all the like, just as I said. The buy me component is where any component you modified is stored. And last but not least is the installed components. This is where the components installed from the component market are placed. The component market is where you can search and install components, logic, theme, page, data resource or data, and update. Some of these components are actually created by other users, which means you can also create a component and share it to others to use in the component market. Moving on to the far east from here is this section. I called it the PSL, that is properties style layout segment. So this is where you can adjust the properties, style, and layout of current page. That is when you click on nothing at all, you just come over here and at the PSL and you can configure the properties, style, and layout. After you drag and drop any components, you can click on the component and the PSL changes format. So over to the property section. This is where you can set up a component's name, what it can contain or store and display to users, its visibility, and many more. The property segment varies between components. Some have more details, while others have less details. You can disable a component to re-enable it under certain conditions using a formula. This brings us to the value type of each component. The value type defines what each property is bounded to. It could be a static text, that is a non-variable text, or you could say never changing text, data and variables, formulas, other components properties, and again it varies from component to component. Some components have data in item repeat, others have other stuff in it. So let's walk through each value type, starting on with the static text. The static text is made up of pretty much text or static number which can't be changed as the app is running or by the user, like the subscribe button, which you should hit so that you get real-time notification on my next video. Next will be data and variables. So data and variables provide different variables, but basically variables are dynamic bindings which can change while the app is running by the user or application. We will go deeper into each variable later on in the video, so stay tuned. The skipping formula, because it's a very delicate part, we go to component properties, which basically takes the properties of other components and use them in the selected components. And last but not least, the formula functions, which is a simplified version of using your brains to make values more concrete or dynamic based on a dynamic formula. There are tons of formulas which you can use, and we'll experiment them as you learn. You can use the variables, the parameters, and everything here. And you can also use functions. Appgyver has provided a list, like a heavy bag of different variables or different functions rather that you can use, contain, capitalize, mathematics, and all the like. So experiment as you go, and that'll be for a fun learning experience. Now we've done with the overview of the properties, let's go to the style. So the style segment is the side where we design the components, that is change color, adjust borders, size, shape, texture, and well, all the properties. So to get that, you just click over here at this drop down, click on edit, and you can adjust in all the preferences that you want. Adjust patterns, position, backgrounds, or what else I was talking about. Next will be the layout, which is responsible for adjusting the space between components, the width and height of a particular component, and its position. Moving south from here, we land on the tree segment, and in the tree segment, this is where you can adjust the order of components between each other. That is, when you drag and drop a component from the component section, you can even come and drag it right up to the tree component and get the order of what. Let's do an example. So when you have these three components set up like this, you can actually drag an object and place it inside the tree segment. Once you drop it here, you can adjust it by putting it above or below, and it simply reorders them. You can even put them inside containers if that's what you want. Moving to this button over here and clicking on it, we arrive at the logic section. This is where you can actually program without using codes. How did Appgyver do that? In this section, there's a lot of components which you can use from here. The flow functions. For example, you can take a component, drag and drop over here, and anytime the page mounts, pretty much you open a page. So let's make it more concrete. Let's say this our object right here, a large image with list item. So when the component is tapped, what happens is I drag and drop the open page, and then I link it, drag and drop it, and then I link it to a particular page. As you can see, and if you have noticed, the components over here also have a PSL, but it's rather only for properties and outputs. All of them have properties and outputs. The outputs pretty much are self-explanatory. They are talking about the outputs from this flow function. For example, the output of component tab will be simply, if the component was tapped, you send the value over here. Open page, if the component tab is actually tapped, then it will be going to run this function. So that's pretty much all about the function. The components in the flow function are pretty self-explanatory. For example, the open page, which opens a page once it receives a value, or the tools, which sends a pop-up value, which sends a pop-up message whenever it gets a value. For example, don't forget to subscribe. And again, you can experiment to your heart's content. So onto this section right over here, I will start with this icon, which pretty much explains itself. Change the preview device. So maybe if you want to be testing your app on an iPhone, an iPod, iPad, Android, or even on the web, and you can even customize the width, the device width, by just going over here, kind of back. There you go. You come over here and you define your custom width. Next, you have the zoom levels, which you can change here. If 100 is not enough and you have to look at 400, then that's up to you. If you like watching at 25, then that's up to you. I really like using 25, not gonna lie. And finally, we have this toggle switch. Before going to the toggle switch, let's go at this back. And if you noticed, we are doing programming, so of course there will be a bug, and therefore this button is just to help in the debugging processes. So I haven't experimented on this part, but what I know is that once you have connected Appgyver to the AG debugger using the Appgyver app, which is available on Google Play, you can pretty much debug any issues inside your app using the AG debugger by clicking on this button here. Last but not least is this toggle switch, which leads us to the variables which we said we would discuss. So finally, here we are. Variables store dynamic data. What is dynamic data? This is data which can be changed while using the app, and each variable stores data in a particular way. Let's go through each of them. So the app variable, these are variables that are read and written on any page in the app. So they are global variables that exist throughout the app. They can be adjusted in one end of the app and used again in another end. It is used to store data which will be accessed from any locations, such as login user, settings, data shared between pages, and many more. Next up, the page variable. Variables, so these are variables that can be read and written on a single page, that is on the current page they are in, and they are removed once the page is closed. They should be used for data which is only needed in the current page, such as loading state, data forms, etc. Page parameters are read-only arguments passed as we navigate between pages. So that's pretty much what they do. The variables that just store in data in one page, and once you navigate to another page, they send the data which is stored to that other page. And finally, we got the data variables, which are pretty much like page variables, but they have their own way of storing the data. They get data from an external data store or any data resource, whether external or internal, which are linked to them. So clicking on any variable provides a property segment to adjust its properties, and clicking on the data variables provides a logic built-in which can be adjusted to change the time it takes for the data to be collected from the data resource to the data variable it's linked to, and you can change pretty much any other thing. Last but not least, in the UI canvas, which is its friendly name, but the definition from UI will be user interface, will be this one here. This one here, you can change the name of the app, and this is where the pages or the page segment. In the page segment, you can add pages. Clicking on this button over here, writing the name of the page, clicking OK. You can also delete the page by coming right over here, clicking this button here, and remove page. And those of you who are wondering, yes, you can also publish in the marketplace. So the global canvas basically only holds variables which you can come and adjust for all pages in the app. Global canvas really just stores up the variables and is like the main coordinator. He's the living room of the household of the app. I don't know if you can say that, but I think that's pretty good. So now we're finished with the UI canvas. All we're left will be the launch, same, navigation, data, authentication, and community. Let's start with community, which pretty much just keeps in documentations, forums, changelog, issue tracks, platform status. Documentation will be explanations or documents on how to use Appgyver tools. Each component is having its own documents, so I highly recommend you check on this. If this video doesn't make any sense at all, I'm sure it's making sense. I know it's making sense. Next up will be the forums. Appgyver has its own forum, so you can go and connect there. I'm also in the forum, and if you want to connect to me, link in the description. Go and get logged in. It's free to log in the forum, and let's chat over there. Why not? The change log, pretty much keeping log about the changes in Appgyver. If you want to know what has changed in Appgyver, what has changed in the app status, not your app status, but in Appgyver setting and everything, you can come and check it over here. Issue trackers, this is where people come and set in, people working within Appgyver or out of Appgyver come and set issues, such as maybe if some button is not working, or the publishing for the apps not going through or anything. And platform status is stating if Appgyver is well or is sick, if it's got COVID or any kind of thing. So these two here are not stressed still. Let's go to authentication. Authentication pretty much means building your app in such a way that it can actually get user data to provide privacy or encryption. Currently, the application has no authentication, but if you click on enable authentication, you can actually add the Google Firebase authentication or third-party authentication. So in upcoming videos, we'll be stressing on the Google Firebase email password, and quick spoiler here, we'll be actually going forth into creating a messaging app and everything, but that's sweet talk. You'll get that in upcoming videos, so stay tuned and subscribe. Next up will be the navigation tab. The navigation tabs pretty much is self-explanatory. This is where you design the navigation. You can add a number of icons. Currently there's only one icon, which is the home icon. It's not even labeled, so let's label it home. I label the home icon, and we can add another icon here just by clicking on this add item. Change the icon itself by clicking on this button here and choose anyone. Gonna choose A because I like A. Gonna put my name, and that's a pretty sexy looking icon, and you can click save and it saves. I think we changed actually the icons. Also set in what happens to the icon. Why is it when it's pressed, where does it go to? So this app currently has one page, but if you have multiple pages, then by clicking on this other icon and setting it to a different page, once clicked it will go to the other page. So that's not all. The navigation also has a custom navigation, so if you are not okay, or if the navigation here is like just white and black and it's pretty boring, then you can actually go one step ahead, top notch, and create your own navigation by clicking on this button right here and adjusting them. Now that won't be enough. You have to actually come over to the component market and buy not buy, everything's free, and actually install a new navigation theme, which is pretty sweet, pretty dope. So let me show you just how you're going to do it. You come to components market, click on components market, type navigation, you type navigation, and it will show you this type of navigation which you can use or others by, I don't know, checking this other sites. I think pretty much for now it just has that one navigation, or you can custom build it pretty much as they have showed you here. Now we can go to the theme section. The theme section is where the coloring occurs. So this is where you can color the navigation tab. If you are interested in colors, you can put a universal background color or background color for specific pages. Also put theme variables, change the color or layout of text, the font, the borders for variables, and also like install fonts. You can add fonts from your own custom made fonts or the like. The launch section is where you can preview the app. So the launch section has two places. It has a preview section and a distribute section. The preview section very self-explanatory. This is where you can preview your app. After you are done building it up, you can preview it from the website, from the mobile app, by revealing the QR codes. I don't think it's going to show it on the video. Please don't look at this. You can download it on App Store. That is, you can download the Appgyver app from App Store and preview it, or the Mac app, and even on Android TV, or you can just hide the pin code there. The next step will be to distribute. Distribute will mean to now actually, if you're done with your app, you can actually publish it on Play Store by coming to the distribute section and go to the open view service. At the open view service, this is the point where Appgyver permits you to configure and create the APK and AAB app. So these are the files which are needed in Play Store or App Store when you want to upload an app. So when you want to upload an app, Play Store pretty much need the AAB app because that's what they take these days, or the APK app for iOS or I don't know. Which brings us to the data section. Data section is our final section, and it was our final section because it has a lot of things to be stressed on. Let's begin with the data resources. Now, if you remember in the data variables, we're talking about data resources. The data resources are pretty much internal or external. When I mean internal, I mean inside the app, and external, I mean out of the app. So these are internal, external containers which will contain our data. Now, why we even wonder why we should just create a variable that will store that? Well, because this will be kind of like not helpful. For example, if a user wants to upload an image into the app, if he stores in an app variable, for example, App variables are quite useful because they won't be deleted so far as the app is running. But once the app is closed, the app variable is reset. So now to store it actually in a place where it can be, when the app is reopened, the data is saved. We will need now data resources, so that's what I use for. And to add data resources, you just click here and you have a whole lot. From on device storage will be an internal, to all the rest which are external, like marketplace search, which you search Google Firebase or Cloud Store, which is one which I really like. The other one will be REST API, which is what we use to create our books library, our online books library. You can check it up in the description or in the top left hand corner. And all data integration, which I don't really know yet, but we'll get to that too. So for REST API, this is pretty much how the interface is, and I won't stress too much here because I actually explain detailing what each of these are. So check out the video on the top left hand corner or link in the description. And finally, we have the connectors. The connector is pretty much for Google Firebase only because, after all, like I was saying, Google Firebase is pretty dope, and you can use this to have an iOS app configuration, web app configuration, or Android app configuration. Again, we stress much on this because we have to go and stress in the Firebase data resource before coming back to here. And that concludes our Appgyver review. I hope I touched every part. If there was a part that wasn't clear, write it up in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if this video was useful, please do me a favor. If this video was useful, do me a favor and leave a like. Comment down below if you want more detailed explanation on a certain topic. Don't forget to go to the Appgyver forum if you have any inquiries. I'm also there, so link in the description to how to get to me. And also, just do your best, enjoy your process.